Good morning, everyone. Today's Dearborn Board of Education School District Board Retreat it is at 10 a.m. We're starting right on time for Saturday, January 23rd. This is being held virtually via Zoom. I do not have the Zoom code in front of me. We can always give it later. At this point, I'd like to ask for a roll call, please.
Sir Samberry.
Here, Dearborn, Michigan.
Mr. Pat D'Ambrosio.
Here, Dearborn, Michigan.
Ms. Roxanne McDonald.
Here, Dearborn.
Adam Mosop in Dearborn, Michigan. Ms. Mary Petlishkoff.
Here in Dearborn.
Ms. Erin Watts.
Here in Dearborn.
President James Thorpe.
Here in Dearborn. Thank you. Next item, please.
Discussion item, superintendent commentary.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. Just to kind of give an outline, obviously, and I'll defer after to President Thorpe. We've been working hard to plan for this. Initially, the meeting started as a normal yearly retreat that President Thorpe had coordinated with myself and Ms. Harris and others. And we also then decided to add the afternoon. So we will have the afternoon for a modified return to school plan. But I do want to say that the plan that the board approved way back in October of 26 is strong, it's effective, and you're just going to see some modifications for that because we've been, really transparent. And since that time, we've been working hard on even enhancing that. Of course, we're going to be balancing the need for in-person instruction with safety. And so we'll look forward to the day today. And I know that anyone that may be tuning in right now for the return to school plan, we've put that out there throughout our publications and our communication that will start around 1:20 this afternoon, just so everyone's aware. Look forward to having Mr. Silveri here with the Michigan leadership, Genesee ISD. Just so everyone knows, going back to when Dr. Wilmot, who was the search consultant when I was hired 6 years ago, we have sent, and Brian Whiston at the time had sent me to their superintendent academy. And so our district not only has a partnership with development, but all of our executive cabinet members, other than one, have so far been to that development camp that they run, Superintendent Academy. It's positive whether they want to go for superintendent or not. And actually, I've spoken now 6 times as a guest speaker superintendent since I've been superintendent. So the other thing with Mr. Silveri and Mr. Tunnicliffe is they're partners with us for our strategic plan. They're the consultants we use. And so I just wanted to mention that we're very comfortable with their group, and they're very professional and they have a lot of expertise. So look forward to the day, and thank you for allowing me to make a few comments this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Maleko. I'm just going to add 1 or 2 quick comments. I'm going to save like the introduction and the why are we here for when we really begin the first phase of this. To the public that's tuning in, I'd let you know that there are 2 parts of today's retreat. As Dr. Maleko said, the first part is going to structure more on the board and the board structure. And it's really a chance for us to get to know each other and plans for this year, some ideas. The second half of today is going to be focused on the reopening discussion, and that should start around 1:30. So we will not be disappointed if you choose to skip out and come back at about 1:30. With that said, I'd also like to thank all of the district administrators that are on the call with us today, and I will expect will be on the call at different times throughout today. So for spending a Saturday with us, I thank you very much for your commitment to this. The other thing I'll mention briefly before we move on to our next action item is we have circulated to the board the committee structure for this year. Everyone seemed comfortable with it, so we're going to move forward with that committee structure, and we'll be able to post that so that people know, board members and the public know which subcommittees we're going to be on for the 2021 year. Next item, please.
Governance Teams Workshop, Mr. John Silveri from the Michigan Leadership Institute.
Before we move there, I think I might be looking at an old agenda. Were we going to be doing citizen participation at this point?
Yes.
We should be doing, okay, my fault. Then citizen participation, citizens wishing to address the board on agenda and non-agenda items for action can complete a virtual blue card that will be posted at 9:30 on Saturday, January 23rd, 2021 on the district's website. Forms received by the beginning of citizen participation will be read by the board secretary. The board might not be in a position to respond to non-agenda items. Therefore, speakers should not anticipate an immediate response to their comments or questions. For the benefit of all concerned, do not mention the names of students or school district employees. Please keep your comments as brief as possible. The board president reserves the right to limit times. Mr. President, we do have many comments on the school reopening plan, so I can go ahead and read those.
Did you need a minute to organize those? Or are you set to go?
I'm set to go.
All right, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So the first comment is from Joseph, and I'm sorry for butchering your last name. Sitcheneider of Dearborn. The board, he said, the board has been making the right decisions so far through this pandemic. With the governor's recent order, it seems that I must write with my objections to reopening schools. It is not safe to return to schools. Though there is a vaccine, it has not been available for teachers, much less for members of the community. I have many students who have lost relatives to COVID. With the new aggressive UK variant just starting to crop up, to consider opening schools without having the vaccine widely available to all members of the community is reckless. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we are not out of the tunnel yet. I urge the board to continue to keep in-person schooling closed until it is safe for our community, regardless of what the governor or president have said. Mrs. Monica Hanks of Dearborn said she sent already this letter to all board members and Dr. Maloyko, and she would like this comment to be read. Dear Dearborn Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Maloyko, I come to you on behalf of the media specialists of the DPS district. We are asking you to please reconsider hiring additional media specialists for our district as you begin and discuss the plan for our return to school, either hybrid or fully face-to-face. Our department was reduced this fall by 2.5 FTE positions, 1.5 due to retirement, and 0.5 of a current media specialist, and 0.5 that was empty and being filled by a sub. In addition, one media specialist has been covering for a long-term absence for a classroom teacher. This leaves us with 3.5 FTE less than last school year. Our department is currently using the flexibility of online learning environment to make this challenging situation work while we are teaching remotely. But it is extremely difficult to meet all the expectations in our job. Being extremely short-staffed in our department, both media specialists as well as secretaries, means being unable to provide proper coverage. We are attempting to provide staff, students, and families of the district with a curbside book checkout while implementing the use of ebook through the Sora Override or Overdrive app. We meet with our scheduled classes weekly. We are teaching technology lessons, reading to students, grading work, and completing report cards for the 1st to 3rd grade students that we see in each and every elementary school. This is not to mention the additional needed coverage for middle and high schools. This is very challenging when some of our libraries currently do not have a secretary and only a media specialist scheduled once a week. In addition, most of us in the department are trained as district tech ambassadors and have been doing everything that we can to help every student, staff, or family member with technology. The media department has been cut to the point that it is affecting our effectiveness. The school media specialist is an expert in matching students with that book that inspires them to love reading. Unfortunately, even before these cuts, we had few opportunities to have meaningful interaction with students because we aren't usually in the elementary schools when students are checking out books. Instilling the love of reading will help our students meet and exceed the goals set by the read by third grade laws. We are dedicated to teaching students to use technology effectively, but it is only one part of our roles as media specialists. We should have the time to partner with with secondary teachers to teach students to carefully evaluate and choose information sources, cite information sources consistently, and navigate social media safely and responsibly. Maintaining our library collections also takes a great deal of time, which is frequently overlooked when we are assigned 3 to 4 libraries each. We ask you to take all of this information into consideration when contemplating the return to school, either hybrid or fully face-to-face. We currently do not have proper coverage to meet contractual language as prep for the first to third grade students across the district due to being short FTE. We understand there are budget challenges, but we are the only special area department in the district that is currently lacking adequate staffing to our knowledge. Thank you for your time, consideration, and of course, continuous support. Uh, she listed all of the names for the people who have submitted this comment. Next comment is from Mr. Paul Sandy with no city. My name is Paul, and I'm a member of the MyCore, the statewide teacher caucus. As a new variant of COVID-19 enters Michigan, and we are just in the beginning to have access to the vaccine, please continue to have teachers and students work from home until this deadly pandemic subsides. As painful as this for all of us, life and health comes first. No one should be in a school building until they have both shots of the vaccine and fully immunized 3 weeks after receiving the second dose. The political pressure for March 1st reopening should go second to the safety of staff, students, and the Dearborn community. Mr. Ashraf Ad-Din of Dearborn, he said, open the school for hybrid option like other districts. 3 days at the school and 2 days studying from home. The outcome of the online education is infirm. We have an anonymous card here that says, Dear board members, I believe that the Dearborn Public Schools has handled the pandemic responsibly so far. By choosing to implement instruction remotely, students and staff have stayed safe and healthy. I believe that every Dearborn employee should have the opportunity to be vaccinated through Wayne County before returning to buildings. I also think that it is imperative that the district abides by the 5% positivity rate before opening the doors to the schools. Current conditions have not improved, and sending children into the classroom prematurely is dangerous. If students truly come first, it is the district's obligation to keep them safe. Janelle Schaefer of Detroit. She said, my name is Janelle Schaefer. I am a grade teacher at Redford Union Schools, member of the MyCore. I'm writing you out of the concern for educators, students, and families in Dearborn Public Schools with the lens of having these same concerns for my school community. When considering your plan to return face-to-face instruction, I hope that you will take note of the following. While it is agreed that learning during a pandemic is less than ideal, all decisions should be made considering scientific facts and the safety of your school community members. Dearborn is one of the few districts that had a metric to determine when it is safe to have face-to-face instruction. Modifying that metric to make it seem safe just because of political pressure is immoral. Asking teachers and school staff to return to schools before having the opportunity to be vaccinated is putting all members of the school communities in danger when they have been kept safe this whole year. The community spread in Dearborn and all of Michigan and will continue to spread once a return to face-to-face learning. I'm urging you, as I am to my school board, to make the ethical choice in keeping students or keeping your schools virtual for as long as possible. Your students are doing the best they can despite the circumstances. They are still learning. Your teachers are still teaching and giving it their all. Mrs. Simone Lewis, not saying the city, she said, I have recently moved to Dearborn and my son is finishing out this year virtually in our previous district. However, next year we will be in Dearborn and I'm excited to be active of a parent here in Dearborn as I was in Illinois. While familiarizing myself with local leaders, I was excited to see that your school board included an educator voice in Trustee Irene Watts. I would like some clarification, however, as it would help me and other constituents understand and be able to trust what you are posing as a voice that comes from a place of experience and knowledge. I'm unable to find Trustee Watts in any educator certification database, including the Michigan Online Educator System. This goes on Mrs. Watts' credentials, but I don't know if that's relevant to our meeting, and especially identifying a school board member. So, Mr. President, would you like me to continue?
No, if you want to prepare to move on to the next comment, and what we can do is go through this in more detail at a later time.
Sure.
Thanks.
Mr. President, can I just acknowledge, if it's okay, just acknowledge that we're accepting it into the record, but since it's mentioning someone personally, that we tend to avoid saying that under the board protocol as well. So,
thank you.
Sure. Mrs. Zainab Ali of Dearborn says, please open the schools. This is getting ridiculous. All districts have been open with no problem. You guys are wasting time by opening up in phases. Our kids' scores have dropped tremendously. Our other districts opened up and are doing fine. Do what's good for the kids. Families who don't wish to send their kids will have options. Allow the children who want to go back to do so. We have Mr. Ali Beydoun of Dearborn. I'm concerned about reopening schools with vaccines not being available to the public. Kids will spread it to their family members. I'm also concerned with a hybrid plan. Students would be starting at a later time. If students are starting at a later time, how are parents going to accommodate dropping them off with their work schedule? Also, if students are going in person twice a week, then the other days they are not meeting with their teachers and losing out on instruction. With the current virtual plan, they are meeting with their teachers every day. This is more beneficial to our children. And that's the end of comments.
Besides the comments that were submitted today, the board has been receiving emails over the last several days also with the same ideas. Some people in favor of returning, some people asking us to stay in more of a remote format. So thank you everyone for participation on that. Trustee Barry, did you have something to add?
Yes, even though I respect freedom of speech, I'm appalled that citizen of Dearborn or constituent of Dearborn feeling that they have the right to attack a city board member. I don't think credentials are part of what qualifies you to be a board member. and all the candidates put out their platform, and the three of them got elected to the board, and we're here. This thing going on nationwide and statewide, I prefer to stay out of local politics, but again, I do respect people's right to freedom of speech. Thank you.
Mr. President, can I make a brief comment?
Yes.
So I appreciate President Barry making those comments as well. And obviously we have protocols and professional ways that we handle public comments. So thank you, President, for allowing that to go over, and Trustee Moses for following our normal protocol. I appreciate that. That's the professional way to handle that. So thank you to the board for stepping up. Secondly, I'm not going to comment on the restart right now because we're going to be talking about that all afternoon. But I do want to make a brief comment that I will about staffing in general, and I'll be very brief. But and I will respond to the notice that came via email. I saw it late last night. One of the things we had to do within the budget, and I know the board is aware, and Trustee McDonald was on the finance chair last year. When we came into April and May, we had to make some tough budgetary decisions because of the pandemic. We were looking at a potential of recession. We didn't know where the state budget had gone. We didn't know where the federal stimulus was going. So we had to make some very good, tough decisions to get our balanced budget by the end of June. Since then, I can say that there's been some positive news. There's still concern for the economy, as you probably see here nationally, but we are getting some federal dollars that we can use over the next 2 years. That is very positive, and Mr. Wall will be presenting that to the Finance Committee. Then it'll eventually be coming to the board. So I want to let everyone know that it is positive. However, with staffing in our district for not just media specialists, but all areas, first of all, we value all staff. But one of the decisions we made back then for the cuts was that if we had people retire, it didn't matter what program they were in, other than maybe in the core classrooms, because we needed teachers to continue, that we made the decision through attrition not to fill them at the time. Part of that was budgetary, and part of it was also the form of instruction we were in. We weren't in the buildings. So with a lot of the programs, you couldn't implement it the same way. And so we always planned to reinstate positions once we were back. Now, I can't say it would necessarily be fully reinstated under the hybrid model because even if it's approved, but I will say that it was a responsible thing that we did across the board, not just for certain classifications, but for all. When someone would retire or resign, there was no need at the time in filling them when we weren't. It was a way to save money, and there was difficulty parents were having with other programs outside of the core. They were just, when we closed down in March, it was difficult, as the board's aware. So I don't want to comment any further, other than I will let you know that we weren't centering out any programs. The cuts were across the board. And I believe we deliberated that heavily with the executive cabinet to make a responsible decision on some of the people that left through attrition that we weren't in the buildings. And again, it was very difficult to implement some of the programs. We did have a committee that made recommendations on special area classes and electives. So I will be responding to that in this kind of manner, but I felt it need to just publicly put that out there for the staffing that, there were a lot of difficult decisions. Things are going to look a little better, but we were being responsible with the budget given the current form of instruction we were in online. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maleko. Trustee McDonald?
I want to thank Trustee Barry for his comments, and I got the gist of it, but I want to mention I was having a lot of trouble hearing you. So I don't know if your volume's down very low, but I don't know if an issue.
I was having a hard time.
I also was having a hard time.
Is that better?
A little bit.
Seems a little bit better. Thank you. All right.
President Thorpe.
Yes.
I also don't want to comment on the school reopening until we have the time to do so. But one comment that kept on repeating is that political pressure from the state or the governor's order. I just want to make it the decision lies in this board, and the board makes this decision. And for me, it's not political pressure. I still base this decision and my own decision on science and facts and the safety of our staff and students and the entire community. So just to make it clear that there is no deadline for us or political pressure that is upon us from the state or the federal government. Thank you.